Hunting is not easy. It never has been. It takes dedication, motivation, a lot of patience, and quality gear. If you manage a food plot, put up stands, or need just one more game camera, we can help at MidwayUSA.com. We opened our doors in 1977 and continue to put customers first by offering super fast, same-day shipping. For just about everything for the outdoors, go to MidwayUSA.com.
At Midway USA, we put customers first. The Nitro Express shipping system is icing on the cake. It was a big investment of time and money to take super fast, low-cost shipping to a whole new level. The Nitro Express helps ensure same-day shipping and low shipping costs. We hope you enjoy the Nitro Express. We built it just for you. For just about everything for the outdoors, go to MidwayUSA.com.
I'm Larry Potterfield with Midway USA. Thanks for your business.
Welcome to DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn, a unique blend of hunting, fishing, wildlife conservation, and the outdoor lifestyle. DSC's Campfires is brought to you by DSC, Conservation, Education, and Advocacy. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Taurus, award-winning revolvers and pistols. Stealth Vision, high-tech, precision-driven equipment for today's modern hunter. Mossberg, American-built, American-strong. Vineyard Max, deer attractants created for the aroma of success, game feeders, and other hunting products. Red 55 Winery, signature wines from Emmy Award-winning country artist Miranda Lambert, owned by Rick and Beverly Lambert. And the Choctaw Hunting Lodge, home of some of the finest hunting in North America. Now, here's Larry.
Welcome to the DSC Campfire. I have the absolute great pleasure to be sitting at a table today up in Maine with Mr. Randy Flannery and also Mr. Abe Nayfa. We're up here on a bear hunt. It's been a little bit of a tough bear hunt. Lots of things going on as far as nature is concerned, and we'll try to get into some of those things, maybe come up with some theories as to what's happening up in this part of the world. But Randy and Abe, thank you so very much for joining us around the campfire today.
Appreciate being here. Yeah.
Now, those of you who don't know Randy Flannery, you've probably been living under a rock for the last several years and haven't poked out very often, but Randy is known for so many different things, and including being just an absolutely fabulous deer hunter and guide and outfitter and presenter of all kinds of information, sharing what he's learned over the last many years of many, many days in the field. And we've had Randy on the podcast in the past a little bit and going to have him on the podcast a bunch more in the future. Randy, before we get into this, I want to bring Abe into it. And Abe has been a dear friend, as well you have, for many, many years, very much involved in the DSC organization, but also with the DSC Foundation, and now serving there as a director. And of course, Abe and his lovely wife, Miss Tori, have been very much involved with DSC, including so many different positions. And as I recall, y'all served on the board of DSC, and I think if I recall correctly, Miss Tori even served on the DSC Foundation board for a while as well, too. So thank y'all very much for everything you've done there, and you've done in the past and what you're doing now, and really what you're going to be doing in the future. Abe, what brings you to Maine?
Well, I bought the hunt at our foundation gala in July, and I hate to tell you this, I thought it was in May. And so I buy this hunt, and Tori said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "That hunt's in 7 weeks."
Yes.
And I said, "No, it's in May." And she said, "Honey, read the description again." And I went, "Lord, I got to get to work. I've got too much going on right now." But here I am. I've enjoyed myself. Tori's here with me. This is gorgeous, folks. If you have never been to northern Maine, and I don't mean the cities, you got to come to the country. This is beautiful, and we've been fortunate enough to fish while we've been up here. We've sat in bear blinds for hours. Yes, for hours while we've been up here, and it's been very relaxing, and so that's how I got here.
That's how you got here, but it's because of your involvement with DSC and the DSC Foundation.
Right. I am the one of the directors of the foundation and also secretary. And so, yes, and I've been very fortunate to be a part of DSC now for about 20 years.
To me, there's no greater organization when it comes to wildlife conservation. When you get right down to it, all the things that are done, and particularly done now through the DSC Foundation, which is kind of our granting arm kind of thing. And with that, I'm going to switch over to Mr. Randy. Randy, thank you so much for being involved. You have donated an absolutely fantastic hunt, which Abe and Miss Tori were able to purchase at the Foundation Gala, and thank you for doing so. But let's talk a little bit about bear hunting in the past and kind of some of the things you think we're dealing with right now.
Well, first of all, it's my honor to donate a hunt and to be involved in any way, shape, or form with DSC because it's an organization that I have the utmost respect for, and I'm thrilled. Sharon and I are thrilled to help out any way we can. In regards to the situation we're encountering with the bear hunting, the weather is not cooperating at all. We've not had a week like this in 25 years, and Larry, you know we've been friends for 30 years or better, and
yes,
you know what kind of bears we kill here on a regular basis. We usually shoot, 30 to 40 bears a season. But as of right now, I've never seen the lakes, and as you know, you've been out fishing with me, and the lakes are so low. They're 4 feet low, and it's been so dry. We have not gotten any rain hardly at all since the beginning of July, and the leaves are turning a month in advance. So when the food source goes, the bears start to go under. And so even because bears do not hibernate because of weather, they hibernate when the food source goes. So I've had that on my mind. I've been wondering about the bears going under early because of no food, but the baits are still getting hit.
Right.
So you just got to figure. Of course, we had the full moon as well this week, so the barometric pressure messes up animal movement. But as an outfitter who works his guts out, and my guides work our guts out to be prepared for,
yes, sir,
to do all this, and we've been doing. I mean, this is 41 years I've been guiding, and when stuff happens like this, you scratch your head in wonderment, and you try to figure out just what the heck is going on.
Well, there's several things you can control, but there's several things you cannot control, and the weather and the changing of weather patterns, such as what we're seeing right now, and it's been that way a lot of different places. I don't think it's necessarily climate change. I think it's just changes that occur naturally from year to year. We go through different cycles, just like we in Texas went through some extreme drought situation and finally started getting some rain this past year now, or this current year. So there are lots of things like that. To me, it's just a natural occurrence. And you can control camp life, you can control the food, you can control who the guys are going out with and where they're going, but you can't control that animal, nor can you control the weather.
Right.
And I think anybody that hunts, that is a true outdoorsman, can understand some of those kind of things.
Sure.
My question, and where I was going with all this, is like the health of the animals. If these animals are, say there's not a ready food source out in a natural situation, are they still going to have enough body weight on them as they go into the wintertime, do you think?
That's a great question. I kind of think so because we had we had one extreme to the other.
Right.
We had rain April, May, and June. It was nonstop rain, and everything was flooded out. By the end of June, we didn't get any rain, and we haven't had hardly any since. So I believe the plushness of what the rains caused from all the rain in the spring, they had ample food. But as of now, it's after 2.5, 3 months of no rain, all that food is drying up. But I think they initially went into the drought fed very well.
Fed very well.
Fed very well.
And kind of the tail end of that really
Right.
probably helped them as well, too.
Right, exactly.
When do these bears normally go into hibernation here?
If you have a mass crop year where there's lots of food, they'll be up until January.
Really?
Yeah. Late April, January. I mean, late December, January.
Right.
And that's why you can literally shoot bears during deer season in November. It's $40 for a tag, but the bear on a mass crop year, the bears are still up. And but if there's no mass crop, they're going to be going under, before the November deer season.
Right.
They'll go out. They'll go under in late October, mid-October. Once the food source is gone, they'll go under.
Years ago, I shot a bear in Canada on a whitetail hunt in Saskatchewan in November. And I was trying to figure out why in the world that animal was still out then. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's a nice, older, mature boar. Mm-hmm. And obviously that was the case. The food supply was still there. And as I recall, there was a lot of green that year. Mm-hmm. And lots of, I guess, acorns in some of those areas, or some kind of fruit as well, too. So that's probably the reason that bear stayed up as late as he did.
Exactly, and it's also the reason why Pennsylvania and North Carolina shoot an unusual amount of big bears. Not necessarily that they're bigger than anywhere else, but the reason why more of them are shot in them two states is because Pennsylvania, for example, is 92% hardwoods. So the bears have ample food. So in places like where they have ample food, like North Carolina and Pennsylvania, them boars are up year round. The females go under because they're going to have young.
Cubs, yes.
But the males will be up feeding year round.
When I leave here, I've got a little time before I hunt the Choctaw there in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And there, those bears, whenever it gets cold, they'll lay down for 2 or 3 days to sleep. When the temperature comes back up, they go to feeding. And for that reason, too, they grow some huge bodies in those areas. And the same thing years ago, the biggest bear I ever shot was in Arizona. And there, those same things happen. They never really slept, kind of thing.
Because of ample food.
Right. Yeah. Abe, have you hunted bear quite a bit in the past?
I've never hunted bear before this time. It's something I've always wanted to do. It's the reason I bought the hunt, besides the fact that I was going to get to hunt with you.
Well, I'm honored.
Well, we were going to hunt together back in January, and,
that's right.
I had a problem come up that made me cancel, so I was looking forward to this. I still thought it was going to be next May, but that's okay.
Well, I got a feeling if they had a spring bear season in May, that's probably what we'd have been here. Unfortunately, they no longer. That to me is so sad. We're talking about the seasons. The springtime is an ideal time to hunt bear, as far as I'm concerned, because you have an opportunity to really look at that bear a lot of times a little bit better. And when they start coming out, their hair is in great shape and all those other kind of things. But that to me is a much better time really to hunt even from a biological perspective kind of thing. And it's a shame that for whatever reason several of these states do not conduct spring bear hunts.
Well, I mean, all I can say is I'm glad I'm here. For people listening, listen, this camp is great. The food is great. The service is great. Everybody's friendly. We've thoroughly enjoyed ourselves.
This is a pretty special place in so many different ways, and the people involved that you've been able to put together, Randy, over the years in terms of guides and people you have in camp. Where do your guides come from?
All over. I'm a big believer in going after the best guides you can get. With the magazine exposure and all the seminars I do, I get contacted by a lot of people who want, with a guide's license, who want to come to work for me. But I literally, Larry, it's just like going after a target buck. I literally go after the guides that I know are really good, and because it's no different than being a head football coach. You surround yourself with good coaches, and they make you look good. And I don't care if a guy's Daniel Boone in the flesh. If he doesn't have a good character, If he isn't an honest man with great, impeccable character, I don't want him in the first place. So that's why I go after the guides that I have, and they're very good, and I'd put them against anybody.
Without a doubt. I mean, we've been out with a young man who's, I know, very special to you, but I've come to realize that every one of these guides is very special to you in so many different ways. And
Absolutely.
And they're almost like family.
They are like
Tell us a little bit about 2 or 3 of your guides that you have.
Well, we went fishing yesterday and the day before on East Grand Lake, and you were with Mike Congelosi, who is like a son to me. And I went after Mike because I heard good things about him, and he didn't know that I was checking him out. I was
Right.
inquiring about his skills and what he knew.
Yes, sir.
And he's as good an all-around guide as you want to get. And over the years, like I said, he's become like a son. So much so, his children call me and Sharon Nanny and Pap, And Dennis Perry, who's a police officer, who's been guiding for us for quite a while, he's also a top-notch moose guide and fishing guide and bird guide, and he's him and Mike both are good all-around guides.
Yes, sir.
So they're really good at what they do. And Heath Howe, who you guys know because he's been guiding you, Heath has been calling Sharon and I mom and dad since he was a boy, and he is also like a son, and he's as good as they get. He really and truly is, and he's a good all-around guide. Outfitters want guides that are good at everything, not just one-dimensional. That we need them to do bear and moose and deer and birds and fishing, and be able to be well-rounded so they can cover all the bases. And that's what I look for. And, Bruce Bellinger and Terry Whitney, who's a retired game warden, who you guys know that is here working for us. And, we have a good batch, if you would, group of tremendous guides that are very knowledgeable, and their character is impeccable. And that's what you want.
And they're really good with people too.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
They've got fantastic people skills, and I've noticed they know when to mess with somebody a little bit, and they know when to back off of some things, and but also very knowledgeable in terms of the animals, the habitat, the terrain, and even the firearms.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. I mean, especially Terry. I mean, Terry is one of the most respected. Again, he's a retired game warden, but he's the number one combat pistol instructor in New England, and he is respected by everyone. And you want to know anything about guns and ammo and ballistics or any of that stuff, Terry's your guy. But the guides all have their own assets. They have their own specialty that they bring to the table, and they all get along well, and they all help each other out. I also have a bunch of other guides working for me that you haven't met yet,
right.
Because they don't work the bear season. But it's you got to be prepared. There's 2 words to always remember when it comes to guiding. My grandfather always said, number 1, you got to be relentless, and you got to be thorough. So when you lay your head on your pillow at night, you can't think of anything you did or did not do that prevented your client from having success. And that's very important.
That is very important.
Yep.
And these guys are the best when it comes to that.
Oh, they're top notch, and they're woodsmen. And
Yes.
It's all about woodsmen.
Yes.
Up here, your compass is your lifeline. Without it, you're done. And you guys have gotten a bit of a look at just how vast and how big this country is. I mean, people don't realize just how much wilderness there is up here, and it's a lot.
Abe, when you were hunting,
My first night after I got off the stand and walked out to the road, I thought, oh, hell, I hope they don't forget me. Because I'm telling you, it gets dark up here. When it gets dark, it's dark. But I got to say one other thing. For anybody that doesn't know, they bait these bears with Oreo cookies. My Lord. So it's fun, folks. It really is.
And I noticed that the first thing we were told is, don't you dare go near that bear bait. Stay in your blind area kind of thing. And I got thinking about it. I think I got it figured. It had nothing to do with sense or anything like that. It has to do with eating the cookies that the guides are saving for themselves sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. But I did think, if they don't come back, I know where the bait is. I'll just go and get some cookies out. I'll eat cookies tonight.
When you have a hunter lugging a gallon of milk out to the bait, you got to start wondering.
I've hunted bears a lot over the years in a lot of different areas, and I've been very fortunate to have hunted Maine in the past and shot bear up here and a few other things, and I absolutely love Maine in so many different ways. It has to do with the terrain, the animals, but it has to do as much with the people that I've encountered up here as much as anything else.
Tori and I were talking about that the people, especially this part of Maine where we are, reminds us a lot of the people in Texas.
It does.
Because of how friendly they are, how helpful they are, and all that. And for Randy and Sharon, we got here and we had missed the turnoff to the camp. And so I stopped and I said, I'm lost. And they said, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm looking for Randy and Sharon Flannery. And she said, oh, well, you just go back down here and go out there. You passed the sign coming in from where you came from. And I said, oh, okay. Sure enough, about 5 miles past where I was, there it was. But everybody knows them, and
absolutely.
But everybody knows everybody up here. When you're talking to them, everybody sees, he waves to them, they wave back because they know him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
are you talking the horns?
Yeah.
And one of the things I really enjoyed and appreciate Randy being is we were out, as you well know, on the road, and he encountered some people, and he'd stop and visit with them and said, hey, can we get you something to drink? Do you need some help or anything like that? Yeah. That doesn't occur too many places.
No. But
it used to be that way in Texas, but as we've had this influx of, shall we say, people who are not from Texas, things have changed.
Nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I don't want to say where they're from, but I think most everybody has a pretty good idea kind of thing. First bear hunt. Is it what you anticipated sitting on a bait, knowing that it was a baited hunt?
Okay, so everybody thinks that baited hunt's like, okay, they go out there and they're going to lead that bear out on a rope to you, and you're going to shoot it. Let me tell you, you go sit 5-6 hours in a blind, and you see a squirrel or see a bird or two, and you're waiting, and you wait all afternoon, and you get to the dark period, and you're going, okay, just show up here now. And it hadn't happened yet, and this is my last day on this hunt.
Yes, sir.
So we got to make it happen this afternoon, or I'll have to come back.
Well, there is that, and
Yeah.
there's a good reason to do that for so many different ways. It's interesting because it's not just this part of Maine. You've been in touch with so many people this year, and I bring that up because I know there's a lot of guys who bear hunt who are listening to this, and it's not a given when you go out and sit on a bear bait.
No, it isn't. A lot of people think it's like shooting fish in a barrel. But the weather has so much, and the barometric pressure has so much of effect on bears and bear movements. And what I do, of course, I've been guiding for a long time, and I have a lot of friends that are guides and outfitters. So I'm calling friends of mine to find out who, how they're doing, what they're seeing, and I'm talking about from western Maine in the mountains where my family's from to up in the Patton area north of us where I used to guide back in the 80s and early 90s and I also call the butcher shops because that's a good indicator of how things are going because that's where people are bringing. And, as much as it drives you crazy when things get slow, you find some type of comfort to the fact that everybody's going through the same thing. The butcher shops aren't getting any bears or very few, or And, my outfitter friends that have twice the amount of hunters in camp that we have, and who haven't even shot a bear. At least we've shot a couple and had a couple shot at and missed, and quite a few seen. But I have friends that are out there that have 30, 40 guys in camp, and they haven't even seen a bear yet. So, and my heart goes out to them too, because I know how hard they work. You know what I mean? So, it's there's so much that's beyond our control, and we usually are bringing in 3 to 5 bears a night. And when it gets slow like this, you start. That's why I don't have a whole lot of hair up top. It's from me pulling it out.
I had a full head. I had a full head of hair when we got here, and it's all, now I'm bald.
Hey, for somebody that this is your first bear hunt,
Right.
what advice would you give to somebody that's coming up on their first bear hunt? Whether it be here in Maine with Randy, and you can't find a better place to hunt or better people, but even if they were saying they're hunting somewhere else, what advice would you give them?
Bring your patience.
Bring your patience.
Because you're going to be sitting there and you go out there and let me tell you, once again, you sit till dark, and I mean dark till you can't see, and then you find your way out of the woods, which fortunately they do mark well.
Right.
And then you're standing there on that road, and as Mr. Flannery told me, unload your gun when you get on the road. And I said, but... And he said, no. He said, because if a game warden comes along, he's going to think you're night hunting. I'm going, he'd think I was night hunting. He said, yes. So you unload your gun. Now you're standing there on the road in bear country with no ammo in your gun. And you're going, man, I sure hope he comes along pretty soon.
Well, I know Randy and his guys will come and pick us up, but I've hunted a fair amount in trying to figure out how to properly say this, on indigenous land in Saskatchewan. And there, we were hunting whitetail deer, and the season ends at sunset. So it'd be like 4:15 in the afternoon, which in Texas, we'd still be hunting for another 2 hours most of the time. But it would end then, and then you'd walk out to the point where they're supposed to pick you up. Well, sometimes they'd forget to come get you, and it would be like 10 or midnight before they'd come get you. And the thing about it is there, you were hunting in temperatures that were well below zero. And when that guide finally comes to pick you up, you're so mad, but you're so glad you don't know whether to hug him and kiss him or fuss at him.
Yep.
And then you finally figure out probably the best thing to do is just be very nice and say thank you, because you're going to be hunting again the next afternoon. And you kind of drop in. It's like, it's really kind of cold out there, and we're going to miss supper and all those other kind of things. But those things can happen, particularly out west here with Randy and his guys. That's not ever going to happen. So.
No, we try to take care of people. We try our best so people aren't sitting out there too long.
Yes, sir. And people have, each guide is assigned several people, and sometimes these bear baits are not a half a mile apart.
Oh no, every one of them is at least a mile apart, and more often than not, they're a mile and a half apart,
right.
Anyways, and each guide has at least 35 bear baits to do every other day. So they got a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get them all done.
Oh yeah, so it's a full-time job. In so many different ways. Since I asked Abe what advice do you give your guys? If somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I want to come up on a bear hunt," what's your best advice for my coming up?
I tell people all the time, bears can smell you with no wind for 250, 300 yards. So you always got to be scent conscious. And if you sit still, you stay quiet, make all necessary moves in slow motion, shoot straight, and have enough gun. We run this business by the 170 grain rule. If your gun don't shoot at least 170 grain bullet, you're not hunting with us. We owe it to the animal to make good, clean kills. So if you cover all them bases, you're going to have tremendous success. Weather and the good Lord providing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that weather is something you cannot control by any means. I mean, the camps are so comfortable. The food is out of this world delicious, thanks to your lovely wife who oversees everything and really makes everything happen in camp and probably makes a few things happen outside of camp too. I got a feeling.
No doubt about it. And I'm also glad I got to take you guys fishing. That was a lot of fun.
That beautiful lake.
Oh, it is. It is
beautiful lake. Good people. Dennis and I had lots of talking about a lot of different things while we were fishing, and I can just say it's been pretty relaxing up here. Now, it's been hard. Don't let anybody kid you. This is not a go out and sit in an easy chair hunt. So it takes some patience and some stamina to sit in a bear blind. And I don't know that I knew what I was getting into, but I thought, man, this is not easy. And anybody that wants to say, oh, you did a baited hunt, you haven't done a baited hunt. That's all I'm going to say. You haven't done a baited hunt if you think it's easy.
Exactly. Well, we've got a bunch of things we've got to try to get done here before too long.
Always.
Let's see. I'm trying to figure out what time it is here locally, but we're not that far away from grabbing another bite of eating.
15, yeah.
And then we'll be heading out probably about 1 o'clock or so this afternoon, and because the closest bait that we've been to is probably about 35 miles. I'm just guessing.
Right.
And some of the baits are a little bit farther away. And I know this afternoon, both Abe and I are going to be sitting on a new bait kind of thing. So we got a little bit of preparation that we want to try to do, and all those other kind of good things. But Abe, I want to thank you in particular to start with for joining us around the campfire today. Anything that you might want to say about DSC or DSC Foundation, since we've kind of opened the door on that a little bit?
Well, anybody that knows anything about DSC or the foundation knows that we grant a lot of money every year to a lot of different places, and every time I get asked about that, they go, well, all that money goes to Africa. No. A portion of it goes to Africa. A lot of it stays right here in the United States, certainly in North America. And I think we do a lot of, I'm really proud to be a member of the foundation board. I think it's probably very satisfying to know the kind of money that we're raising and the kind of money that we're spending every year for all these different projects. And as a board member, I want to thank Randy and Sharon for their donation.
Amen.
These people gave us this money. It's the same thing as if they wrote us a check.
Right.
And everybody needs to understand that when outfitters donate to us, they're writing us a check.
Yes, sir.
And so we need to be thankful for that. The hospitality has just been unbelievable. Randy and I met 4 days ago. You'd think we'd been friends for 30 years.
I've been watching and listening to you guys, and I will attest to that.
I mean, man, he immediately got after me. That wasn't nice.
And he's over there laughing right now.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's a mutual thing.
Well, but I just tell you, I thank them for supporting the foundation.
Amen.
I ask people, if you're not familiar with the foundation, go look us up, call one of us. We'll talk to you.
Absolutely. Having been now a former board member of the foundation, now serving as an advisor, we have the best organization in the world when you get right down to it, and the projects that we fund money to are so extremely well vetted, and they have to report to us. And if there's something there that's questionable, if they apply for another grant, and it's a little bit questionable as to whether they did everything they said they were going to, they're probably not going to get granted money again in the future.
Probably not getting granted a second time.
And,
That's right.
and as you mentioned too, I mean, it's not just an African granted money situation. It is we grant money to. We've done a lot of stuff with the Mule Deer Foundation and some of the Desert Bighorn programs, but also with the Lost Sheep Foundation and a little bit with the Elk Foundation and all these other kind of things. So a lot of the dollars do stay here locally.
And also the youth education.
The youth education is exactly.
Hey, folks, we're all getting older. If we don't teach these kids to hunt, it's going to die without them. So we got to get them involved. And and we really enjoy working with the young men and young women.
Yes.
And so we're happy to do that.
Absolutely. If you want to learn more about the DSC Foundation, you can go to www.dscf.org. And with mentioning that too, I want to mention the chapters very quickly. We've got a growing number of chapters across the U.S. right now, and the beauty of those chapters is each one is their own 501c organization. And when they have a fundraiser, their top fundraiser, they keep 75% of the dollars raised. 20% of that goes to the DSC Foundation, but they still have a voice into where that 20% goes. Only 5% of that goes to DSC, and that's to help guys like Bruce Borowski and Mike Hufstadter, who go traveling around setting up chapters and helping maintain chapters. And so anything that you have is a secondary type of fundraiser, even if it's $1 less than your top one. Those chapters keep all of that money to determine where they want to grant that money and where they want it to go to. And I'll be very open with you. There is no other organization out there, conservation-wise, or any other kind of organization that does the same thing, where the local chapters control essentially everything that happens with the dollars that they raise. So if you're not familiar with the DSC Foundation, go to dscf.org and learn more about the chapters. Go to www.biggame, and that's biggame.org, and you can find out where those chapters are. And then if you happen to be interested in starting a chapter in your area, there's also a way to get in touch with Bruce or Mike, depending on where you are in relationship to the countryside. So go visit those sites and you'll learn a whole lot more. And Randy, if they want to learn more about Wilderness Escape Lodge, Wilderness Escape Outfitters, how do they do that?
Well, our website is info@wildernessescape.com, www.wildernessescape.com, and we are on Upper Hot Brook Lake on the Washington and Aroostook County line in Danforth, Maine, outside of Danforth, Maine, and our phone number is 207-448-3238. Thank you very much.
And we'll be sure to get all that in the show notes on this one too. I'm going to ask you a little bit later to come back here, either tonight or tomorrow, or before we get out of here. I want to talk to you a little bit more about some of the moose hunting things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've talked a little bit about in the past about some of the whitetail, but I really want to come back and touch on some of the whitetail. So, ladies and gentlemen, we may end up with more episodes with Randy a little bit later this week before we get back headed toward Texas to. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's got the experience, more experience in so many different ways and so many different things having to do with wildlife, particularly up in the northeastern part of the world. So really want to bring Randy back, and we'll do that. Like I say, try to do an interview with him later this evening once we get off of Barrett Bay stands, and maybe tomorrow. So join us a little bit here, not just a little bit, join us a lot right here in the future. And by golly, there's no telling where we're going to go, but we've always given you a hint now that we are going to bring Brandy back. So when this guy talks, you need to listen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be right back here next week.
DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn has also been brought to you by The Crown Bar in LaGrange, Texas, the Texas Wildlife Association, Double Nickel Taxidermy, and Burnham Brothers Game Calls.
Bow hunting all comes down to a moment. And in the moment, you want equipment on your bow that will get the job done. Trophy Ridge products are the tools bow hunters trust. React Technology sights, rests, stabilizers, and quivers to help a bow hunter be successful in the field. And those tools are from Trophy Ridge.
Hey guys, this is Melissa Bachman. Are you ready to stop spooking deer before it's even time to hunt them? Then you need the new Flex S Dark cellular trail camera from SpyPoint. With a no-glow flash option, long-lasting solar power, and a ton of settings that can be changed anytime through the SpyPoint app, there are no more excuses for letting your deer get wise before the season even starts. So check it out for yourself and see why the SpyPoint Flex S Dark is the unstoppable and undetectable scouting tool you need for your next hunt.